Celta Vigo are currently playing some of the best possession football in La Liga. New manager Claudio Giraldez, who took over in March 2024, has transformed the team's philosophy. His quick, short-passing 3-4-3 system has seen the team rise to 7th position, with 54.4% average possession this season. Celta rank 5th in that regard. The team transition quickly and rely on through balls to rack up the goals. The role of rotating centre-backs is key to their midfield dominance and progression in the channels. The Celta boss's implementation of positional play and the use of triangles has given Celta a very balanced attack and has got every fan excited again. Giraldez's work with the B team saw him be promoted to the first team, taking over from Rafa Benitez when the team were languishing in 17th place, and now a place in Europe is possible. Giraldez wants his team to dominate the ball, and this starts with the build-up. From the 3-4-3, the right-sided centre-back moves up into a wide midfield position, and this is the key to Celta's new shape, because now the left-sided midfielder can move into a number 10 role supporting the striker. Meanwhile, the right wing-back moves into an advanced position and the right-sided attacker moves into a second number 10 role. This gives Celta a 2-3-2-3 formation. The principle is then to pin the opposition's defence back and then find space in the half spaces for the two number 10s. The two number 10s can then completely disrupt the opposition's backline, with dropping runs pulling the defender out and opening up gaps for the wing-back or striker to exploit. This also happens when the wide player comes deeper, pulling a defender with him. The number 10 can then look to exploit this space. We can see this shape in the match against Mallorca. Mallorca have dropped into a defensive block, so Celta build possession with the wide centre-back moving into the midfield line, and the wing-back moving to pin the full-back. So, the wide attacker drops to occupy the back line. Seeing space in front of the back line, the centre midfielder takes up a position in the half space. The two 10s are now looking to exploit this space and disrupt the opposition as the wide attacker drags his marker with him, creating room to exploit with the right pass. This shape can also be seen in the game against Las Palmas, with the two 10s dropping into the spaces between the defensive lines. The role of the striker is important here, as his position stops the centre-backs from pressing these spaces. There is one caveat to this formation, in that having only one pivot and two centre-backs does leave the team open to counterattacks in transitions. When faced with a three-man press, Celta keep the +1 at the back by keeping the wide centre-back on the right in a defensive line. The midfield pivot always split and stagger their positions, with the left-sided pivot usually taking up an advanced position and the deep right-sided pivot shifting into position from side to side, assisting with build-up. And this is where the advanced midfielder is key to how Celta progress into the final third. Playing against the double pivot, he rotates his position to occupy the pivot on the ball side, freeing up space for the wide centre-back to move into, while also freeing up space for the attacker in the front line to drop into. And this can give Celta an overload down the flank. Betis are pressing with the front three, so the wide centre-back stays deep and the pivot drops in to give the +1. The advanced midfielder has shifted to the ball side and Celta have the wing-backs pushing up, creating a possible overload. This creates enough space for Gonzalez to drop in and receive. As the team move into the opposition's third, the role of the number 10s becomes more important, moving into wide areas to build combinations with the wing-back and drag a defender out of position for a teammate to exploit. They drop between the lines to receive and play through balls for the striker. Celta move players into the opposition's half, closing off the playing area as they form a 2-3-2-3. The 10s then join the front line to stretch the opposition's defence and create gaps between the defenders and run in behind using combinations with the wide player. Here, the player in the half space has dropped between the lines to receive. He now looks to play the ball through the lines into the opposition's penalty area for the forward to run onto. And here, Celta's narrow front three are pulling the defenders in, so there is space on the outside for the wing-backs, as Celta occupy the whole of the back line. The secret to Celta's midfield dominance lies in their structure of triangles formed all over the pitch, and this usually gives the player with the ball at least two options for a forward pass. Giraldez uses a flexible approach when his Celta team are pressing. Having the third lowest tackles in the defensive third, Giraldez makes it hard for the opposition by pressing up the pitch. Often the two wide forwards will move in to cover the two centre-backs and are ready to press when they receive. Meanwhile, the centre forward will drop back to cover one of the pivot, with Celta's more advanced midfielder moving up to cover the other pivot. This blocks off progression into the central channels for the opposition. The wing-backs will move into advanced positions to press the full-backs. A key part to this defensive structure is the role of the more defensive midfielder, who moves into the back to give Celta a back four, and therefore the ability to cover in the wide areas. This then allows a wide centre-back to press an attacker when necessary. We can see here how the centre forward has moved into a midfield position to cover a pivot, and the two wide forwards are covering the centre, and Aspas's curve run prevents central passes, forcing the opposition down the line. This is then the trigger for the wing-back to press, forcing a longer, less accurate pass. And we can see here against Betis how the central midfielder Beltran is in the back line, allowing Marcos Alonso to cover behind the wing-back. And here where Alonso is pressing the winger in the opposition's half, preventing him from turning. From Celta Vigo's 3-4-3, the wing-backs take up defensive positions, so it naturally morphs into a 5-2-3 when defending their box. This gives Celta cover all across the back line with short distances between defenders, and with the two midfielders sitting in front of defence, the centre-backs are protected. But because there are only two midfielders who prioritise protecting the space in front of the centre-backs, the weak area in this structure is the area either side of the centre midfielders. This area has to be covered by the wide forwards who need to track. This can leave the wide attackers exhausted. Claudio Giraldez has won many admirers by producing a very attractive style of play with a limited group of players. Although there are not many teams that adopt a 3-4-3, and adjusting a squad of players to this can take time, a big club might be tempted in the future. Thanks for watching.